Being a highly creative woman, I find myself fearful that having kids will be spiritual suicide, hindering my endeavors, but I also don't want to have an unfulfilled life. Can I have a full life without kids? Well, yes, I suspect you can, although it's risky, Maddie, because it's really important for people to have kids, because the thing is that you get older than 40, and our culture is kind of dopey in that regards. It's underdeveloped. We live as if we only exist when we're young, and we don't. It's like, what are you going to do from the ages of, say, 45 to 90 or 95? You need a family around you. You need to see your children grow. You need to have grandchildren. It's a major part, maybe the most important part of the last half of life. Now, you said, being a highly creative woman, I find myself fearful that having kids will be spiritual suicide. Well, that's the part of your question that I would really address, because I would say, well, don't let them be spiritual suicide. It may be that there's a certain amount of time that you need to take away from the kids, and this is the case for parents in general, so that you can pursue your own creative endeavors. Children do not have to devour your life. In fact, if you let them devour your life, then you'll hate them and you'll mistreat them. And so what you want to do is to set yourself up so that you can have children and have a life. And that's better for the children, and it's better for you. Like, children can be taught, encouraged to spend a fair bit of time, not when they're infants, obviously, but to spend a fair bit of time amusing themselves. And that's especially the case if you have more than one child, because they'll mutually amuse one another. It's actually easier in some ways to have more than one child, because with one child you're constantly amusing the child, but with two or three, then they're off in their little, club, especially if you can stop them from developing sibling rivalry that's too intense, and they can monitor themselves. So the trick is, if you're a highly creative woman, is be disagreeable enough so that you can carve yourself out your own space, so that you don't come to resent your children. And you're afraid of that. You're afraid that, it looks like, you're afraid that if you give yourself to children, there'll be nothing left for you. And that can happen if you have children who have terrible health problems, for example, but you can't protect yourself against those eventualities in life anyways. But I would say your best bet is to be a more selfish mother. And believe me, I've had more clients who were ruined by mothers who were too unselfish than I've had clients who were ruined by mothers who were too selfish. So you need to be there when the kids need you, but you shouldn't be there any more than is necessary. So let's see. Adam Watts says, I feared having kids for the same reason. I'm a full-time pro artist. You make your own normal, said my therapist. JP is speaking the truth. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Don't be thinking that you can't organize your life when you have children. The thing about modern people is that they're terrified of children. And it's because they regard children as if they're miniature tyrants. And they can be, of course, because anyone will tyrannize over you if you allow them to. Perhaps not anyone, but virtually anyone. Why not regulate your children's behavior? I wrote a chapter in my new book called Don't Let Your Children Do Anything That Makes You Dislike Them. And that's like really serious advice. It's like, if you allow your children to conduct themselves around you in a manner that makes you dislike them, if you're being honest, if you're paying attention to the shadow side of yourself that can be aggressive and destructive, then if you allow your children to do things that make you dislike them, then having children is going to mess up your life. But you don't have to do that. You actually have a tremendous amount of control over the quality of your relationship with your children, and also the manner in which you choose to disperse your time. And I mean, if you're willing to think it through and be clear, you can be in charge of your household. The children don't have to be in charge. And it's not good for them to be in charge anyways. So people are afraid of children, and it's too bad, because children are absolutely wonderful. I mean, you have to be careful with them, and they get tired, and they get hungry, and they get hot, and they don't have an attention span that's as long as an adult who has a long attention span. But they're great company, and they're unbelievably comical, and they love you, and like they give back far more than they take if you have an ounce of sense when you're dealing with them. So yeah, so don't be afraid of children, man. you're the adult, for God's sake. You've got the upper hand, and if you have a partner you can rely on, well then, you can both decide how it is that you're going to run your household so that you're actually thrilled to death that you have kids and that you have a life.